The ISS Polaris 4 hummed quietly as it drifted through the void, its stabilizers maintaining a perfect orbit around the research station's central hub. The ship, a gleaming monument to the Galactic Alliance's technological prowess, had just completed its most dangerous mission to date, retrieving a living specimen from the death world Tau 7X, where life itself had evolved to extreme parameters. Cadet Reese chittered nervously, mandibles clicking together as the young Orthari straightened the formal Science Division uniform. This was Reese's first major assignment after graduating from the academy, and being selected to assist with such a high-profile specimen was either extremely fortunate or terribly unlucky depending on one's perspective. "Cadet, are you prepared for the preliminary examination?" Captain Vern's voice resonated from the ship's communication system, the Draconian's naturally deep tones making even simple questions sound like threats. "Yes, Captain. I've reviewed all safety protocols and sterilization procedures." Reese responded, trying to keep the nervous clicking from the back of the Orthari's throat to a minimum. 6 legs shifted anxiously beneath the uniform. "Has the specimen been secured?" "Specimen X-077 is contained in Quarantine Chamber Alpha. It's been under Level 9 sedation since capture. Nothing survives Level 9 sedation with full cognitive function, so this is primarily a biological cataloging exercise." Reese nodded, though the captain couldn't see it. Level 9 sedation was typically reserved for creatures that could destroy entire ships if they woke unexpectedly. Whatever they had recovered from Tau 7X, the Alliance wasn't taking chances. The doors to the laboratory slid open with a pneumatic hiss, revealing a stark white chamber. At its center stood a triple-layered containment unit, the outermost barrier made of transparent aluminum, the middle layer a shimmering force field, and the innermost a hermetically sealed atmosphere container. Inside this elaborate prison lay what appeared to be a bipedal creature, approximately 2 meters tall, wrapped in crude fabrics. Its form was oddly familiar yet alien. 2 arms, 2 legs, a singular head. Almost disappointingly conventional for something captured from the galaxy's most lethal environment. Dr. Kazin the Polaris, 4's chief xenobiologist, hovered near the containment field, his gelatinous body rippling with excitement. Cadet Reese, right on time. We're about to begin preliminary blood work and cellular analysis. Is that really from Tau 7X? Reese couldn't hide the disappointment. It looks so unremarkable. Dr. Kazin completed the thought-amorphous appendages, gesturing toward the containment unit. That's what makes it fascinating. The deadliest predators often appear innocuous. This specimen survived conditions that would dissolve most Alliance species in seconds. Don't let appearance deceive you. Reese approached the containment field compound, eyes narrowing to focus on the specimen. It was draped in what appeared to be synthetic and organic fibers, a protective covering, unlike any natural evolution Reese had studied. Its exposed skin was a pale pinkish beige, and atop its head grew strands of dark filament. The face was flat by galactic standards, with forward-facing eyes currently closed, a protruding nasal structure, and a single mouth. "What do the preliminary scans indicate?" Reese asked, genuinely curious now. "Inconclusive. Bull." Dr. Kazin's body rippled in what Reese recognized as the morphid equivalent of frustration. Its cellular structure is carbon-based but unusually adaptive. The outer layer appears heat-resistant, radiation-resistant, and shows signs of rapid regeneration. Internal scans show multiple redundant systems. Most intriguing is the neural network, extraordinarily complex for such a seemingly simple organism. Could it be sentient? Reese wondered aloud. Captain Vern, who had entered silently behind them, barked a harsh laugh. Sentient possible. Communicative doubtful. We attempted standard telepathic and symbolic communication during capture. Nothing registered except basic survival responses: fighting, fleeing, feeding. Primitive reactions. Reese nodded, somewhat relieved. The Orthari weren't a warrior species, and the thought of confronting a conscious apex predator was unsettling, even with multiple containment layers. "I need you to assist with epithelial sampling." Dr. Kazin instructed, extending a specialized collection tool toward Reese. "The outermost containment field will create a temporary opening for your arms only. The tool will automatically extract and seal samples. Be precise and quick." Reese took the tool, its weight unfamiliar in the Orthari's spindly appendages. "Should I be concerned about contamination or retaliation?" "The specimen is completely sedated," Captain Vurin stated flatly. "Level 9 sedation would keep a Kronaran battle tank unconscious for a century. This creature, whatever it is, won't so much as twitch." Somewhat reassured, Reese approached the containment field. A small section dematerialized, creating just enough space for the Orthari's arms to reach through. With delicate precision, Reese extended the collection tool toward what appeared to be a scale-like structure on the specimen's exposed forearm. What happened next occurred too quickly for anyone to react appropriately. The collection tool slipped its edge sharper than Reese had anticipated. Instead of gently lifting a skin sample, it created a small laceration. A droplet of purplish-blue blood welled up from the cut, and the specimen's nostrils flared. Everyone in the room froze. "Did it just—" Reese began, voice trembling. "Impossible." Dr. Kazin whispered, his gelatinous form contracting in alarm. "It's under level 9 sedation. It cannot be conscious enough to—" The specimen's eyes remained closed, its body motionless, but all three scientists had seen the subtle reaction. It had unmistakably responded to the scent of Reese's blood through 3 separate containment barriers despite supposedly being unconscious. "Withdraw the tool immediately," Captain Vurin ordered, voice low and controlled, but with an unmistakable edge of tension. "Dr. Kazin, verify sedation levels." Reese carefully pulled back the sampling tool, now smeared with the specimen's strange bluish blood. As the Orthari's arm retreated, the containment field resealed with an audible hum. Dr. Kazin moved to the monitoring station appendages, flowing over the controls. Sedation levels reading nominal, brainwave activity minimal, heartbeat slow and regular. By every measurable standard, this creature is deeply unconscious. "Then explain what we just saw," Captain Vurin demanded. "Perhaps a residual autonomic response," Dr. Kazin suggested, though his undulating form betrayed uncertainty. "Many predator species retain chemosensory awareness even during unconsciousness as an evolutionary survival mechanism." Reese, however, was staring at the specimen with newfound wariness. "Are we certain it's actually sedated? Could it be mimicking unconsciousness? That would require intelligence far beyond what we've—" Dr. Kazina began, but stopped abruptly when the specimen's finger twitched. A tiny movement, almost imperceptible but definitely intentional. Then, as quickly as the signs of awareness had appeared, they vanished. The specimen returned to complete stillness, its breathing so shallow it was barely visible, its body displaying all signs of deep unconsciousness. A heavy silence hung in the laboratory. "It's playing dead," Reese whispered, finally, compound eyes fixed on the seemingly unconscious form. Like the ambush hunters of Terax Prime, it smelled my blood, realized it was being observed, then reverted to mimicking sedation. "That's absurd?" Captain Vurin scoffed, but there was uncertainty in his tone. No creature could resist level 9 sedation, let alone possess the tactical awareness to feign unconsciousness. "Unless," Dr. Kazin said slowly, his gelatinous form rippling with growing excitement, "we've discovered something unprecedented. Captain, I suggest we increase security protocols and begin comprehensive genetic analysis immediately. If this specimen is consciously adapting to our procedures, we are dealing with something far more significant than anticipated." Reese couldn't tear away from the containment field, watching the seemingly unconscious specimen with newfound fascination and dread. "I think it's watching us right now, through closed eyelids. Listening." learning. You're letting imagination override scientific observation. Cadet, oh, Captain Vurin reprimanded, though his hand rested on the emergency security beacon at his belt. Nevertheless, we will proceed with extreme caution. Dr. Kazin, assemble the full research team. I want continuous monitoring and analysis. Nothing about this specimen should surprise us again. As they exited the laboratory, Reese glanced back one final time. Perhaps it was a trick of the light, but the Orthari could have sworn the specimen's lips had curved into the slightest smile. The research team worked tirelessly over the next 12 hours analyzing every aspect of specimen X077. Their findings only deepened the mystery and growing unease. These readings can't be correct. Dr. Kazin muttered, his gelatinous form rippling with agitation as he reviewed the latest biological scans. The cellular structure shows signs of adaptation to at least 6 distinctly different planetary environments. The genetic code contains sequences that appear designed to activate under specific extreme conditions. Reese, who had remained despite the end of the official shift, leaned closer to examine the data, almost as if it evolved to survive, everywhere. Not evolved. Dr. Kazin corrected theoretical excitement overriding caution. These patterns suggest intentional engineering. This species was designed for universal adaptation and survival. Captain Vurin, who had been silently observing from the doorway, stepped forward. Doctor, you're suggesting artificial enhancement. Some civilization created this thing. Or it created itself, Dr. Kazin said quietly. The neural complexity is unlike anything in our databases. We're seeing evidence of abstract problem-solving capacity that exceeds Galactic Alliance standards by several orders of magnitude. The laboratory fell silent as the implications settled over them. A creature of unknown origin, with seemingly impossible adaptive capabilities and potentially superior intelligence, was currently secured in their containment field, perhaps only pretending to be unconscious. We should run a genetic comparison against the ancient archives, Reese suggested suddenly. If this is a created being, perhaps there's historical precedent. Captain Vurin seemed ready to dismiss the idea, but Dr. Kazin's form brightened. An excellent suggestion, Cadet. The archives contain genetic samples from thousands of extinct species. If there's any match, we might gain contextual understanding. The genetic comparison took several hours, the ship's quantum computers sifting through millions of genetic markers across countless species. When the results finally appeared on the main laboratory screen, they were so unexpected that even Captain Vurin's typically stoic demeanor faltered. This can't be accurate, he whispered, voice uncharacteristically shaken. Run it again. Dr. Kazin was already initiating a second analysis, his entire form quivering. Probability of error less than 0.01%. The genetic markers are unmistakable. Reese stared at the screen in disbelief, chittering nervously. But that would mean specimen X077 is Homo sapiens. Dr. Kazin confirmed the scientific name hanging in the air like a death sentence. A human. The laboratory erupted into chaos. Security personnel who had been monitoring the conversation immediately activated emergency protocols, sealing all doors and initiating the station's highest containment procedures. Alarms blared throughout the Polaris 4. Humans are extinct, Captain Vurin insisted, though his scales had paled considerably. They disappeared over 4,000 years ago after the catastrophe of the 3 systems. Apparently not entirely extinct, Dr. Kazin replied, his gelatinous form contracting with what might have been excitement or terror. Every civilized species in the Alliance knows the legends. Humans were the nightmare that nearly destroyed interstellar civilization in its infancy. Reese, whose education had included only the basic historical outline of the human extinction event, looked between the 2 senior officers in confusion. Surely the histories are exaggerated. No single species could be as dangerous as the legends claim. Captain Vurin fixed the young Orthari with a grave stare. Cadet, do you know why the Kronaran, the Smorphids, and the Draconian formed the original alliance despite being natural enemies? Because humans had already obliterated 3 independent civilizations simply by making contact with them. Not through warfare, through cultural and technological contamination. Their ideas, their adaptability, their relentless expansion nearly destabilized the entire galactic order. The quarantine and purge of human-controlled systems was considered the only solution. Dr. Kazin added more clinically. When their home system went silent, the Alliance declared the threat contained the species eliminated. A necessary extinction to preserve galactic stability. Reese looked back toward the containment field where the human lay motionless. And now we've brought one aboard, alive. A living biological weapon, Captain Vernon said grimly. We need to contact Alliance High Command immediately. This specimen must be transferred to a maximum security facility or potentially... He didn't finish the thought, but his meaning was clear. Wait, Dr. Kazin interrupted, gelatinous appendages waving toward the monitoring equipment. I'm detecting anomalous electromagnetic patterns emanating from the specimen's brain. They're fluctuating, structured, almost like communication, Reese whispered. Impossible. Captain Vernon dismissed. It's contained in 3 layers of isolation. No signal could penetrate. Captain interrupted the ship's AI through the communication system. We're detecting unusual energy fluctuations in the station's communication array. Something is attempting to access our long-range transmitters. The realization struck them simultaneously. The human wasn't just conscious, it was active somehow, projecting signals through multiple containment barriers, learning their systems, reaching out. Lock down all communication systems, Captain Vernon ordered. Initiate full electromagnetic dampening fields around the containment area. But before anyone could move to execute the command, the lights in the laboratory flickered. The monitoring screens blinked momentarily, displaying strange symbols before returning to normal. The containment field hummed at a slightly different frequency. And in the center of it all, specimen X077, the human stretched luxuriously and yawned. Every person in the laboratory froze, watching in horrified fascination as the supposedly sedated apex predator casually sat up and looked around with alert, intelligent eyes. Wow, said the human in perfect standard galactic, its voice surprisingly melodious. That was some nap. You guys sure know how to roll out the welcome wagon. The human female Reese realized belatedly, recognizing the secondary sexual characteristics from xenobiology texts, stretched again, and ran her fingers through the dark filaments atop her head. Lieutenant Jade Harper, Earth Exploration Corps, she announced pleasantly, as if introducing herself at a diplomatic function rather than from inside a triple-layered containment field. And yes, before you ask, I heard everything you've been saying. Particularly the part about the necessary extinction of my species. Bit awkward that. Captain Vernon recovered firsthand, moving to his sidearm as he stepped forward. How did you penetrate our sedation protocols? Harper smiled, the expression somehow both friendly and predatory. Oh, that's a trade secret. Let's just say humans have had a lot of practice looking harmless when we're actually paying very close attention. Seemed prudent to play dead when I realized you folks were planning to dissect me. Impossible. Dr. Kazin stated, though his gelatinous form rippled with scientific curiosity. Level 9 sedation would incapacitate any biological entity in the known galaxy. Known galaxy being the operative phrase there, Doc, Harper replied with a wink. Humans aren't exactly in your databases anymore, are we? Officially extinct and all that. Reese, overcoming initial shock, took a step forward. You've been conscious this entire time since capture. More or less, Harper confirmed, studying the young Orthari with evident interest. Woke up about halfway through transport. Thought it best to observe before making my presence known. Standard protocol when encountering a potentially hostile species. She paused, looking directly at Captain Vernon. Like ones that might have participated in the attempted genocide of your civilization. The accusation hung in the air, heavy and uncomfortable. The quarantine was implemented before any of our civilizations joined the Alliance, Captain Vurin said stiffly. We bear no responsibility for historical decisions. And yet you were just discussing whether to kill me? Harper pointed out mildly. History has a funny way of repeating itself. Before anyone could respond, the laboratory doors burst open as security personnel rushed in, weapons trained on the containment field. Harper observed them with bemused interest, making no aggressive moves. Should I put my hands up? She asked dryly. Or would that be too threatening? I know some species find human appendages disturbing. Captain Vurin signaled the security team to hold position. If you've been conscious, you know your situation. You are contained within 3 separate barrier systems on an Alliance research vessel. Cooperation is your only viable option. Harper actually laughed at that, the sound startlingly musical. Captain, I appreciate the confidence, but let's be honest with each other. This containment field has 17 structural weaknesses I could exploit. Your ship's navigation system has been compromised since I woke up. Nothing dangerous, just a little monitoring program. And, she added almost apologetically, you're not alone out here. As if on cue, the ship's AI announced, Captain, 5 unidentified vessels have decloaked within weapons range. They are not responding to hails. The laboratory erupted into chaos again. Security personnel looked to Captain Vurin for orders, while Dr. Kazan's form contracted in alarm. Only Reese remained focused on Harper, watching as the human's expression shifted from amusement to something more thoughtful. They're not going to attack, Harper said, raising her voice above the commotion. That would defeat the purpose of this whole exercise. Exercise, Captain Vurin demanded, scales flaring in anger. You deliberately allowed yourself to be captured. More like I volunteered, Harper corrected. Earth Exploration Corps has been monitoring Alliance expansion for centuries. We decided it was time for a proper introduction, but given the historical baggage, a direct approach seemed unwise. So I played the part of mysterious specimen. Figured you'd be more willing to talk once you had had a chance to satisfy your scientific curiosity. Reese's mind raced, piecing together implications. You've been watching us all this time, but the historical records state that Earth was quarantined, bombarded into sterility, erased from the galactic map. Harper suggested, ticking off points on her fingers. Yeah, that was the general idea. Turns out humans are really good at hiding when we need to. And rebuilding. And waiting for the right moment. She stood, causing several security officers to tense, but merely stretched her limbs. Look, we could have re-established contact, centuries ago, but the Alliance made its position pretty clear back in the day. So we've been watching, learning, assessing whether coexistence was possible. This little field trip of mine was meant to test the waters. By allowing yourself to be treated as a laboratory specimen, Dr. Kazan asked, scientific curiosity overriding caution. Best way to gauge your true attitudes, Harper confirmed. When you think no one's listening, truth tends to come out. She looked pointedly at Captain Vurin. Like discussions about whether to dissect or destroy me. Captain Vurin's scales darkened with emotion. If humans have survived and rebuilt to the point of fielding cloaked vessels, why reveal yourselves now? What's changed? Harper's expression became more serious. The void rifts. We've detected them expanding at the edge of known space. You've noticed them too, though your scientists haven't recognized the pattern yet. Something's coming, Captain. Something that makes our old conflicts seem trivial. A tense silence fell over the laboratory. The void rifts had been dismissed as natural phenomena by Alliance scientists, but unexplained disappearances near them had sparked concern. You're claiming to offer help against a theoretical threat? Captain Vurin said skeptically. After 4 millennia of hiding. I'm offering dialogue, Harper corrected. Knowledge exchange, partnership. The Alliance has expanded and evolved since the old days. Maybe it's time to revisit old judgments. Dr. Kazan drifted closer to the containment field, scientific fascination, overwhelming caution. If humans have survived in secret all this time, your technological and scientific development must be extraordinary. The potential benefits of cooperation are matched by the potential risks. Captain Vurin cut in sharply. The legends of human destabilization aren't merely historical paranoia. No. Harper acknowledged, they're not entirely wrong. We're adaptable, curious, and we change everything we touch. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. We're not perfect, but we're not the monsters of your stories either. Reese, who had been quietly observing, suddenly addressed Harper directly. When you first regained consciousness, why didn't you immediately identify yourself? Why maintain the deception? Harper's expression softened slightly as she regarded the young Orthari. Survival instinct. When you wake up in a lab with people discussing how to study your biology, introducing yourself isn't the first priority. Playing dead bought time to assess the situation. And now, Reese pressed. Now I'd like to go home, Harper said simply. My team has gathered enough data. We know which Alliance species are ready for renewed contact and which might need more time. In exchange for my safe return, Earth is prepared to share archaeological data about the first civilization and our research on terraforming dead worlds. Captain Vurin's expression remained suspicious. Just like that, you offer technology and disappear again. Not disappear, Harper corrected. Begin formal diplomatic contact, slowly, carefully, with appropriate cultural buffers. We've learned from past mistakes too, Captain. The old human approach of charging in with our overwhelming cultural presence didn't work out well for anyone. Before Captain Vurin could respond, Reese stepped forward decisively. I believe we should accept Lieutenant Harper's proposal. The potential benefits outweigh theoretical concerns. Cadet, you are not authorized to, Captain Vurin began. With respect, Captain, Reese interrupted, standing taller despite trembling slightly. Our mission is scientific exploration and discovery. Lieutenant Harper represents perhaps the most significant discovery in Alliance history. Responding with fear and aggression contradicts our core principles. Dr. Kazan's form rippled in what might have been approval. The cadet raises valid points, Captain. At minimum, this presents an unprecedented research opportunity. Captain Vurin looked between them then at Harper, who waited patiently within the containment field. Finally, he sighed, scales settling back to their normal hue. I will need to consult with Alliance Command, he said stiffly. Until then, Lieutenant Harper remains contained. Fair enough, Harper agreed easily. Though I would appreciate if you'd disable the cellular disruption field. It gives me a headache. Captain Vurin's eyes narrowed. How did you know about the disruption field? It's not visible or detectable without specialized equipment. Harper tapped her temple with a smile. Humans have really good pattern recognition. Your security protocols have a specific electromagnetic signature. Pretty standard stuff, actually. Fascinating, Dr. Kazin murmured, earning a sharp look from Captain Vurin. I'll arrange secure communication with Alliance Command, the captain said, turning to leave. Dr. Kazin, Cadet Reese, continue observation, but no invasive procedures. And Lieutenant, he added, looking back at Harper, instruct your vessels to maintain their current position. Any movement will be considered hostile. They won't move an inch, Harper promised. Scout's honor. After the captain and security team departed, an awkward silence fell over the laboratory. Harper sat cross-legged in the center of the containment field, appearing completely at ease despite her captivity. So, she said conversationally, while we're waiting, anyone want to tell me what an Orthari is? Your species isn't in our databases. Reese startled at being directly addressed. We evolved after the human quarantine. My species developed sentience approximately 800 standard years ago on Orthax in the Cygnus sector. Bug planet, right? Harper nodded. We charted it, but never landed. Too much atmospheric chlorine for our tastes. You've been to my homeworld? Reese asked, fascinated despite lingering apprehension. Orbited it, Harper clarified. Earth exploration course maps everything. even places we can't visit. Knowledge is survival. She tilted her head, studying Reese. You seem less terrified of me than the others. Curious. Cautious. Reese corrected, mandibles clicking slightly. But yes, curious too. Our historical education about humans, limited. Propaganda usually is, Harper said without rancor. If it helps, most of what you've heard about human destructive capacity is probably true. We're survivors to an almost pathological degree. But the part they leave out is that we're also creators, explorers, dreamers. We make art and music. We philosophize. We look at stars and imagine possibilities. Dr. Kazin, who had been silently monitoring equipment, finally spoke. The Alliance histories indicate human expansion was unstoppable due to some inherent quality of your species, a kind of cognitive contagion. Harper laughed. That's a poetic way of saying we have interesting ideas and we talk too much. Her expression grew more thoughtful. But there's some truth there. Humans adapt rapidly, not just biologically, but culturally and intellectually. We absorb and remix ideas from every civilization we encounter. It made us unpredictable, disruptive to established orders. A threat? Reese said quietly. To systems resistant to change, absolutely, Harper acknowledged. But change isn't inherently destructive. Sometimes it's salvation. She nodded toward the laboratory equipment. Half your technology has human design principles at its foundation, even if you don't recognize them. Ideas outlive their creators. The conversation continued for hours as Alliance Command deliberated. Harper answered questions about human biology, culture, and history with surprising openness, though she deftly avoided revealing specifics about Earth's current defenses or location. Reese found the human increasingly fascinating, dangerous, certainly, but not in the mindlessly destructive way Alliance legends portrayed. Dr. Kazin seemed to share this growing appreciation, his scientific enthusiasm overriding initial fear as he conducted non-invasive scans that Harper voluntarily permitted. Remarkable, he murmured, reviewing neural activity readings. Your brain processes information at using multiple simultaneous systems. Logical and intuitive pathways operating in parallel rather than sequentially. We call it right brain, left brain thinking, Harper explained. Though that's a simplification. Really, humans just think in contradictions. We can hold opposing ideas simultaneously. It makes us good at spotting patterns, but terrible at consistency. Is that why your species created art alongside weapons? Reese asked. The historical archives show human artifacts ranging from poetry to planet killers. Harper's expression sobered. We contain multitudes, as one of our poets said. The capacity for creation and destruction exist in the same mind, often the same thought. It's our blessing and curse. The laboratory doors slid open, admitting Captain Vurin. His expression was unreadable, but his scales had settled into their normal coloration, a sign that whatever decision had been reached wasn't immediately catastrophic. Alliance Command has authorized limited diplomatic contact, he announced without preamble. Lieutenant Harper will be released to her vessels in exchange for the promised archaeological data. Future negotiations will occur via quantum-secured channels until formal protocols can be established. Harper stood, offering a respectful nod. A sensible approach, Captain. Thank you for advocating reason. I advocated caution, Captain Vurin corrected stiffly. Be aware that several council species voted for immediate reestablishment of quarantine protocols. Your actions moving forward will determine whether peaceful contact continues. Understood, Harper said suddenly, every inch the military officer, despite her casual demeanor. Earth has no interest in disrupting Alliance stability. Our priority is addressing the Void Rift's threat, which will require cooperation. Captain Vurin gestured, and the containment field's controls activated, gradually powering down the barriers. You will be escorted to Docking Bay 3. Your vessels have been granted approach clearance. As the final barrier dissolved, Harper stepped forward, stretching more fully now that she was unrestricted. Up close, Reese was struck by how physically unimposing she actually appeared, shorter than Captain Verrin, with none of the natural weaponry most apex predators possessed. Yet something about her presence commanded attention. Perhaps that was the true danger humans represented, not physical superiority, but a kind of persuasive energy that drew others into their orbit. "Before I go," Harper said, addressing the entire room, but looking at Reese, "I'd like to request that Cadet Reese be assigned as liaison for future communications. The cadet has demonstrated both scientific curiosity and balanced judgment qualities essential for cross-species dialogue." Captain Verrin seemed surprised by the request. "That would require approval from—" "I volunteer," Reese interrupted, stepping forward, despite racing heartbeats. "If Alliance Command permits." Harper smiled, the expression remarkably similar across their vastly different physiologies. "Excellent. I think we'll work well together." The escort to the docking bay proceeded without incident. Alliance security personnel maintained a wary distance from Harper, who walked calmly alongside Reese and Captain Verrin. Ship crew members stopped to stare as they passed word of the living human having spread throughout the Polaris 4. At the airlock connecting to the docking bay, Harper paused. "The data package has already been transmitted to your systems. Dr. Kazin should find the archaeological sections particularly interesting. There's material there about evolutionary divergence that might explain some of your containment field limitations." Captain Verrin nodded stiffly, clearly uncomfortable with how easily Harper had penetrated their security, but unwilling to escalate tensions at this delicate moment. "We will review it thoroughly." Harper turned to Reese, extending a hand. "It's customary among humans to shake hands when establishing a partnership, if that's not too alarming." Reese hesitated only briefly before extending one of 6 limbs. The contact was warm and firm, nothing like the cold, predatory touch Alliance legends described. "Until our next communication, Cadet Reese, I look forward to less dramatic circumstances." "As do I, Lieutenant Harper," Reese replied, finding the sentiment genuine. With a final nod to Captain Verrin, Harper stepped through the airlock. They watched on monitors as she crossed the docking bay to where a sleek vessel had materialized, a ship unlike any Alliance design, with smooth lines and unusual propulsion systems that defied easy classification. Before boarding, Harper turned back toward the camera, knowing she was observed, and offered a casual salute. Then she paused as if remembering something and spoke clearly enough for the microphones to catch. "Oh, and Cadet Reese, just so you know, Orthari blood smells like mint tea. Quite pleasant, actually." With that parting comment, she boarded her vessel. The docking bay doors opened to the void of space where 5 additional ships had decloaked, each different in design, but sharing the same elegant, slightly unsettling aesthetic. The human vessels departed in perfect formation, vanishing into faster-than-light travel, with a distinctive ripple effect that Alliance sensors struggled to classify. In the aftermath of Harper's departure, the Polaris 4 hummed with excited tension. Dr. Kazin immersed himself in the archaeological data, occasionally emerging to exclaim over some revolutionary insight or unexpected connection. Captain Verrin maintained official caution, increasing security protocols while simultaneously preparing diplomatic briefings. Reese, newly appointed as human contact liaison, despite youth and inexperience, stood in the observation dome staring at the stars where the human vessels had disappeared. The galaxy suddenly seemed both larger and smaller, more dangerous, yet more wondrous. The official record was updated that day. The entry for human Homo sapiens no longer listed extinct, but rather mythology status under reevaluation. 1 week later, Reese received the first official communication from the Earth Exploration Corps. It contained standard diplomatic language, proposed research exchange protocols, and navigational data regarding the expanding void rifts. At the end, a personal message from Lieutenant Harper was appended. Cadet Reese, thought you might appreciate knowing that humans have been studying the Alliance for centuries through unmanned probes and occasional field operatives like myself. We've compiled extensive cultural and biological data on all member species, including evolutionary projections. According to our models, the orthorhei may develop limited telepathic abilities within the next 1,000 years, something to look forward to, Harper. Reese read the message several times, mandibles clicking in thoughtful contemplation. The humans had been watching, learning, waiting, playing dead on a galactic scale until the moment was right to reveal themselves. Not because they were weak, but because they had chosen restraint over confrontation. Perhaps that was the most important lesson. True apex predators didn't need to bare their teeth to demonstrate power. Sometimes playing dead was the ultimate strategy, not of fear, but of wisdom. As the stars continued their silent dance beyond the observation dome, Reese wondered what other legends might be waiting out there watching, with patient eyes choosing the precise moment to awaken.